Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Thank you for joining me again this week. I have another great guest in store. Her name is Carol KEppler, and she is the CEO of Altwaters Technology. And today we're going to talk to you about how the sun is affecting our health. We're going to talk to you about brain function that specifically affects depression, memory loss, PTSD. We're going to discuss a system on the planet that uses energy and vibrational medicine to help your health. And we're going to talk to you about a designed water program that will assist in your health and well-being for the rest of your days. Again, Better Living is brought to you to educate and inform you about all aspects of living to help you live a better life. And I'm very, very excited to introduce to you today Carol KEppler. Carol, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeannie, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to share. I have so much I want to share.
So let's talk about you first, and then we'll talk about Altwaters Technology, and then we'll get into all of the things that I promised everyone we would discuss today. So let's give a little background on Carol KEppler.
My background is education, and education is really a good way to begin because I ended up not teaching in schools, but ended up the past 25 years educating people about their health and how they could get well naturally and live to, they say, 100, 200, 300 years, and I'm really looking forward to that. I'm 80 at this point.
So if I were to live 200 years, would that also affect would you have programs to help me with my skin and my hair and my wrinkles so that I don't look like I'm that old?
Actually, that's what this program does. This water-based program that we've been working on for 25 years, it had a built-in perk that we didn't realize, and it's de-aging. How exciting is that? Actually, we call it youthing.
Youthing. Okay. Mm-hmm. So let's talk then. I know you're based in Phoenix, and that's 1931 West Sweetwater Ave in Phoenix, Arizona. So let's talk about Altwaters. How did this come to be?
That was really interesting because I have always been health-oriented. My mother was using herbs multiple years ago, and when I was about 45, I started hemorrhaging, and I think it was 46, started hemorrhaging 3 weeks out of 4, and I had a big tummy that made me look, I was 46 years old, that made me look like I was pregnant, maybe about 4 or 5 months pregnant. I didn't like that. So I did go to a doctor, which I don't do doctors. I did go to one that my herbalist told me was very good, who was a gynecologist and surgeon, and she told me that I had tumors on my uterus, and I would have to have it removed. And I thought, no, I don't want to do that. So she looked at me. It was strange, and she said, you know what? If you'd like to visit my homeopathic physician across the hall, maybe he can help you. And I said, if I need to, I will. And I didn't need to. What I did as an educator is I researched herbs and found that there were ones that would help me. I put myself on a juice fast, did 90 herbs a day from a wonderful herb company that had high-quality herbs, and within 27 days, the tumors were down from the size of 2.5 grapefruit to the size of plums. You couldn't do that now because the produce that I used to juice at that time doesn't have the frequencies that it does, that it did then, and therefore it wouldn't work, unfortunately. But
yeah.
we did get I did get myself totally cleared of this that they had diagnosed as cancer. Never did go back.
Okay. Couple of things, because we do have physicians on this show and all of that. Again, Better Living is brought to you to educate and inform you about all aspects of senior living. And so I'm a proponent of doctors, but I'm also a proponent of looking at other ways to help you live better. So I'm very intrigued by what I've learned about Carol, but I want you all to really be open-minded in our discussion today. And I don't want to lose listeners because you said you don't believe in doctors. I completely believe in doctors, but I also think there's other ways for us to heal. Now, I'm very interested in what you just said about how you juiced and how we cannot get the quality of foods that you used to juice 25 years ago, because I think that's a problem in our society today. I've had nutritionists on before. I've had other folks on that talk about how our food today is different, and it drives me insane. It really makes me mad.
And let me tell you, if anyone out there is buying organic, forget it, unless you're going directly to the farm. And I have made a study of that. Organics, actually, I need to back up a little bit. I'm an energy intuitive. That means I can look at 6 kinds of apples and tell you which one of them is the best, or even give them a rating of a negative 10 to a positive 10. And I can tell you right now that I used to use green apples, carrots, beets, celery, and parsley. That was my Gerson juice fast, and it worked. It worked for me. You could not do that now. The green apples have no frequencies. And the reason is, I believe, in fact, it's especially bad in organic markets, they irradiate them in order to kill the bugs and the mold. And once they do that, they scramble the frequencies so that your body can't read them. So you are getting no nutrition out of them. You might as well eat ground up cardboard or sand. It's sad.
So what do we do? Where do we go? Where do we go for food that will help our bodies? Because I do believe all of this. I believe what we're feeding our livestock and what we're spraying on our fruit and how we're treating our lettuce and our spinach. I think it's a lot harder to be healthy today. My grandmother used to tell me, Jeannie, you just eat fresh fruits and vegetables. She used to have sugar every day. She loved her little mocha cakes. She was the healthiest lady I knew till she was 94. But I feel like it's so difficult in this day and age to truly eat well.
It is. Actually, we planted our first little garden just this spring. We're in Phoenix, and the sun gets so hot it burns everything out. But so we planted them early. 8 little Swiss chard plants and 8 little lettuce plants. And I don't ever remember tasting food like this. And on my scale of plus and minus 10, these greens go so far beyond that, I call it triple infinity. And so we probably will have to have our own gardens. Actually, one of the people I've interviewed on my program is Dr. Gabriel Cousins, and he says that in the future, it looks like every home will have a little greenhouse attached, and he has a prototype for that. So we're going to have to do it ourselves because it's not going to be done for us. I have found that Costco and Sam's Club, that I think are across the country, do have good produce. And I think the reason why they don't, I know they don't do organics because their produce has frequency, because they sell so much. I also have found another grocery store across the country. It's called Winco. It's owned by the employees, and so it's very, very reasonable. I guess Costco is too. But those are the only places, unless you go directly to the farmer.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good to know, Costco, because I want to give people practical and reasonable solutions. Not everybody is going to plant their own garden. So,
that's true.
And I'm with you. I feel like Costco, I go out of my way to go to Costco on the weekends because I feel like I can get food there that tastes better, looks better. I just wasn't sure why.
That's right. And Jeannie, you are intuitive. I am picking up a 90% intuitive. So people are born with intuition. I think it is dumbed out of us by teachers and parents who don't believe that kids could know this much. But when you use your intuition, you can look at 8 different kinds of apples and say, no, 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 no. Yes, that one is a good one. And that's the easiest way to get into intuition, just yeses and nos.
Okay. Well, hopefully that goes over to people, too, because I haven't been able to pick the bad apples out as well as I should. Anyway, okay. So you have a background in education, but mostly about health and wholeness. And you've been mentored by many people, doctors and scientists, and you spent 25 years researching and developing this sort of new energy type medicine to help people live more healthy. Did I summarize that correctly?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We have a new name for this. We started out 25 years ago with the book by Dr. Richard Gerber called Vibrational Medicine. Awesome book. Wonderful Dr. Richard E. Gerber, who used our products. And then it morphed into energy medicine, and more recently into bioenergetics. And we a doctor just renamed what we were doing. He said that because much of what because first of all, we were using water-based to program our frequencies of herbs and other naturals into. He said we should have hydro as the first part of the name, and he calls it hydronoetics. And he said no one has that name yet. And noetics is a knowledge, an innate knowledge of the truth. And as an energy intuitive, I feel that's what we are doing. We're pulling through the truth of how to be well again, despite the fact that we live in such a toxic world. And so hydronoetics is our new name.
Okay, great. So, and you know so much more about this and are obviously passionate about it because you've spent 25 years researching it. But for the typical person listening to this radio show, and me as well, and I have a very open mind, but it gets a little scary when we hear intuitive and words like energy. And so I want to kind of bring it back down and explain the science of this, because you're talking about vibrational medicine. So how does energy and vibration and what you say about did you say how did you use the apple? The frequency.
Yeah.
How does that all work in the body? Can you give me a little bit of a simplified scientific explanation for why that intrigued you and how you knew that was something that could benefit folks' health?
Actually, everyone picks up vibes. You can pick it up on the telephone. You can just talk to somebody and you get vibes from them that, this is a wonderful person. Or, I feel really uncomfortable with that person. We do read vibes. We just don't realize what that means. I
agree. I just listened to a show on Oprah because I have that XM radio in my car. And so I get Oprah radio, and they're showing, they air shows from 20 years ago too. And she talked about this as a show on self-defense and how we need to take much more care to listen. She calls it listen to your gut, understand those vibes. And she had somebody on who went through a violent attack, and she said the minute he walked in the store, my whole body reacted. I had a gut feeling. I got a vibe that he wasn't good, but we were trained to be nice when we grew up as little girls. And so I didn't listen to my intuition, my gut, my vibe. So this is very well documented and discussed. And so you're relating it to vibes about food?
Food,
Okay.
And I can tell you that when I tell people that the apple that has the best vibes or frequencies, therefore, is the Gala apple, they so often say, oh my gosh, that's the one I buy. Because they look at all of the apples and they pick that one out and they don't even know why. So we can do that with our food. We just have to be more in touch with ourselves and our feelings. And for those who aren't yet, I can tell you that once the cells are cleansed, then they are so much more in tune, and you know things like that. Every person who goes through the cleanse that we have, which only takes, for most people, about 6 weeks, when they come out of that, when they come off of that, they are so intuitive, actually 100% intuitive. So I'm telling you that if you went through this 6-week program of drinking a quart of water a day that's been programmed with the frequencies or the vibrations of herbs and other naturals, so the herbs don't have to be in it, it tastes like water. It is just the frequencies of them that are put in it. You would be 100% intuitive and therefore more easily able to pick out these things than you are now, even though you're
I think I'm going to have to do this because I'm very open-minded and I'm loving anything that can help us feel healthy. And I do have an intuition, I guess that's what you call it, about, because I get very frustrated with food. I try to eat healthy mostly just because I worry about the way I look. But
very good.
But I don't really know why. I don't really understand it. So I want to learn more and maybe have you back again after. I think maybe for the benefit of our listeners too, I think I need to go through this program because I'm trying to stay open-minded, Carol, but it is a little progressive. And so maybe I need to go through this program and then have you back again and we can talk about how it affected me as well. But let's educate. Okay, so we're talking about frequencies and vibes and intuition. So let's say we go through your cleanse and then we realize how to choose the best foods for our health. How does this whole system work? And let's kind of pull folks into what Altwaters is all about.
Okay. I need to tell you, first of all, that a very famous scientist, material scientist, Dr. Rustum Roy, who's known worldwide, learned about what we were doing. And he's interested in water, and so he was fascinated by the fact that water could heal, could cleanse the cells to the point and put in the frequencies into the cells so that they could repair themselves. And so he did 2 years of testing at Penn State in his lab there, pro bono. He paid for it out of his own foundation. And his last words to us when he finished the study were, "These are amazing formulas with spectacular results." It was an old East Indian man. And that is kind of an overview of what is to come.
So his name is Rustum Roy, R-O-Y, for folks that might want to research him?
Yes, Rustum, R-U-S-T-O-M, I believe. Okay. Rustum Roy, Dr. Rustum Roy. And he is, and we have him on our site because I interviewed him, and he told me before I knew it things about what we were doing that I didn't understand. He talked about vectors of healing, and I didn't get it, and he said, "That's what you're doing." So I have to tell you that what we have done, I have no scientific background. I'm an educator. And what we have done, I could not have done without the help of the good Lord. Let me tell you that.
Well,
because I am not, because this is not, this is real science, but I don't have a scientific background. And if a doctor had done it, people would have accepted it faster,
right,
scientists, than they do from just an ordinary person like myself. However, I do have a vision, and my vision is that we can heal the planet with water. It is inexpensive, it's fast, it's easy. You can give it to a newborn baby, you can give it to a person with any disease, and it doesn't cure disease. What it does is cleanse the cells of all the toxins that keep the cells from doing what they were designed to do, which is self-repair. So there are three parts to this. You need to cleanse the cells, and we have a way to do that with drinking a quart of water a day with the frequencies in the quart. You need to drink... So you're cleansing the cells with the frequencies. You need to have at least a quart of water a day. The bigger you are, the more water you need. And the third thing is you have to give the body time because it's not magic. the cells know how to repair, but it does take time. The more dense the cell, the more time it takes. So the central nervous system takes a long time. That's like repairing copper wires. But the mucous membranes take a short time.
Okay. So you said step 1, cleanse the cells with frequencies.
Drink a quart of water, at least a quart of water a day, and give your body time to repair.
Okay. And first of all, I want to say to you, ordinary can be very extraordinary. And secondly, we always run out of time. We only have a few minutes left for this part of the show. So I just, in terms of Altwaters, so what we're doing is we're trying to get the healthiest foods in your system. First, you're trying to cleanse the body so that the body can work the way it was actually designed by the good Lord to work. And that is to rejuvenate, regenerate, and do the best job it can to heal yourself. Not heal, because any underlying diseases will stay there, but to keep you healthy. As healthy as possible.
Just self-repair. The cells know how to do that.
So if someone is interested in learning more about the cleanse that you have and the system and how long it would take and how much it would cost, which is very cost effective. I've talked to you about the cost, and it's nothing like what people are throwing out for weight loss programs.
Exactly.
How could they get in touch with you? Can you give your information, and then we'll get into much more detail in just a moment.
You can look up the site online at www.altwaters, A-L-T for alternative, altwaterstech.com, and the website is educational. So you can learn so much just by going to the website.
And then they can call you?
And I was going to say, I'd love to talk to anyone who would like to understand more. We do a 15-minute informational free just to help people understand. And my number is 602-996-9753.
And I know, Carol, from our preliminary talk before you came on the show, when I was trying to wrap my head around your program, that you've really done a lot to help folks with specific diseases, dementia being one of them. And again, we're not curing a disease, but we're helping people live as healthily as possible with their disease, whatever disease that is that they have. And so I want to talk more about that. But your program, very quickly, I have about 2 minutes. Can you just give an overview of your program? And then we'll get into more detail.
Okay. As I said, the body is a miracle in itself that it can repair if we only would know how to cleanse it. We have learned how to do that. And the scientists say that if we could only get the cells cleansed, we could easily live 100, 200, 300 years. That's exactly where we're going.
Okay, that's a little bit more than I can wrap my head around right now. But if we can live to 100 healthily, then why not? You know,
Absolutely.
And the rest is just icing on the cake. Okay, and so to work on our health, there's a 6-week cleanse, and then what do? Do we maintain for a while, or do we come off of it, or is this a lifelong program?
Actually, it is a lifelong program. That's a nice way of putting it. It is like having your car overhauled, and they give it back to you, and it's beautiful and it's running perfectly, and you then put gas in the gas tank like we eat food, except the rest of it you don't think about. You don't put water in the radiator or in the battery. You don't grease it or put oil in, and it doesn't take very long before the whole car freezes up and it doesn't work anymore. And that's the same thing that happens with our body. So once it's cleansed, and we, for most people, we can do that in 6 weeks. It is a do-it-yourself program.
Great.
Help.
I want to talk.
It is so simple. Mm-hmm.
I want to talk more about that because I know you've helped a lot of folks with different diseases, and we're going to talk about those stories when we come back. But I do have to take a quick break right now. So stick with us. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Again, I'm Jean Pete, and you're listening to Better Living, and I am so blessed every week to have you join me so that I can educate and inform you and your loved ones about all aspects of senior living. And I'm hoping that today's show helps us all live much longer, healthier lives as seniors, me included. And again, as I said in the first half hour of the show, I am going to do this 6-week cleanse, and I'm going to probably bring Carol back and discuss what I'm amazed by after the 6-week cleanse. But we're talking today with Carol KEppler, who is the CEO of Altwaters Technology. And we're talking about eating the right foods, listening to your gut, figuring out what the best foods are to keep your body healthy. And the challenges we face living in this country and in the world today to find those foods that can help our body do what our body was designed by God to do, and that is to rejuvenate, refresh, and help ourselves live as healthy as possible for as long as possible, 100 or so years. And I was talking to Carol at the break, and she had said, yes, and I'm going to invite everybody to my 100th birthday party in 20 years. So, Carol, let's talk a little bit about how you've used this program, how you feel, how it's affected you, and then we're going to talk about stories with folks that have suffered from different diagnoses and how it's helped them as well.
Actually, I'm 80. I'll be 80 this summer, and I work a 70-hour week, and I look at least 20 years younger, maybe more. And I don't feel an age. It's really interesting because once years ago I was talking with a gal who was young, and she was very ill, and she said, I feel like I'm 89. And I said, your biological age is 89. That's how your body is working. She had picked it up intuitively. And I was 69 at the time, and I said, you know what? I feel like I'm 28. So you may be years older, but not feel it. That's good. It would be very important also not to be on a lot of medications as we get older. And the reason is every single medication is a chemical, and putting chemicals in our body toxins the body and makes it acidic. And in order to get well, we need to bring the body back to alkaline. They have said that cancer is an acid disease. Think of how many people are coming down with cancer now. So much in the environment is acidic. I'm just thinking the sun. For the last 11 months, the sun has started pumping out CMEs. Those are coronal mass ejections. And I don't know if anyone noticed, about mid-June, a year ago, that the sun changed color from this golden, yellow, healing light to this blazing blue-white light that actually damages the retinas and puts radiation into the cells. And the doctors are treating symptoms, so are the natural people. They're treating symptoms. They are not treating the root cause. And that's what our program does. It gets to the root cause.
Well, then I'm going to blame the sun, because I think that's when I started gaining back some of the weight I lost was last June.
Oh, yes, in June, from June on. And so the sun is very acidic now. It causes radiation in the body. Think Chernobyl. And it can be cleaned up. That's one of the root causes that is causing illness right now. A lot of people are coming to us and saying, I think I'm going blind, and my ophthalmologist told me my retinas were burned. So he did contact Southwest Eye Center and spoke with a doctor there. I said, what's happening? He said that the sun now can blaze the retinas and burn them, and he said what will happen is the eyes will get cloudy, and only the person will have only peripheral sight. And he said that's called legally blind. Therefore, you can't read and you can't drive. So people need to know this, and it is reversible, absolutely reversible with our program.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that's happening.
Well, let's talk, because it is water-based. Now, aren't chemicals getting into our water? How do we make sure that we're drinking the cleanest water?
Actually, to have filtered water, reverse osmosis is the best, and you can get the unit and put it on, have it put under your sink, and it's right there. We have had that for years. That's very pure. That's a very good and not expensive way. Actually, Costco has a unit by Watts, Watts, that is very inexpensive and excellent. So you could have good water.
Okay.
But when you asked before about a lifelong program, we have a preventive maintenance program. In the kit are 4 cleansing formulas, step 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we have 2 power formulas. You'll like this one. One is called Completion, and it is stem cells. It's going to be, they think, maybe 20 years before we have really the stem cell thing put together with the scientists and the researchers. And then I say, how much money is it going to cost? I know a man and a woman who went to Panama to get stem cell therapy. They had to stay for 2 weeks. It cost them $15,000 each. We have a formula that ramps up the stem cells at the end of the 4 cleansing program. We also added another one just recently called Memories. You can't imagine that the memories, the painful memories that we have, trigger acid into the body, and they can be subconscious. You might not even think you remember them, think of them anymore, but they're still triggering acid into the system, and we can't ever get alkaline. No wonder there's so much illness. So we added the formula called Memories. One of the other things it does,
I don't mean to cut you off, Carol, but I think this is important because prior to moving to Atlanta, when I left the financial industry and started my work in healthcare and was working for a hospice up in Boston and Rhode Island, I traveled around Rhode Island with a nurse practitioner who had she owned a pain resource. Her company's called Pain Resource Network. Her name is Kathy Scott. And I admire and respect her so much. And we traveled throughout the state of Rhode Island and southern Massachusetts teaching people about pain. And she talked neurophysically about how the center for pain is located at the bottom of your head. If you put your fingers in the middle of your neck, at the bottom of your head, where you can move your head up and down, that's where the center for the pain is located. And I'm not a nurse or a clinician, but after traveling with her, what she said was patients feel pain, and it makes them depressed. And the center not for pain, but for their emotions is in that place. And so when people feel pain, they get depressed. It's all coming through your body through the same system. And one thing I learned traveling around Rhode Island and Massachusetts with her was how difficult it was to have one without the other because our bodies are so intertwined. And so if you hold on to that emotional pain, that will create physical pain. And if you have physical pain that goes untreated, that will lend yourself to depression and other forms of having other forms of difficulty in healing. And so what you said before about how it's all intertwined and how when we keep our memories negative and don't work through that, that affects what you're calling frequencies and radiation or in alkalinity in our body. It all goes together. I've also interviewed in the past someone who also talked about cleansing your body and how important water is and how it affects the oxygen and your ability to rejuvenate yourself. And so whatever you call it and whatever type of science folks are teaching, this is all intertwined. I absolutely believe that. And, we talk about the book, The Secret, and living with positive thoughts and self-fulfilling prophecies. This is not new, but you've taken it to a scientific level about how the waters will help you heal and how the frequencies and the energy of what we put into our body affects our own energy, which will affect our own health. So I thought that was important to tie it together to the principles that are not new to what we've been hearing. We've all heard about the book, The Secret. We all know that depression is much more prevalent in people who suffer from chronic pain. And so, Carol, you're on to something here, and I just wanted to add credibility to what you're saying. So now you can continue. I'm sorry.
You did a very good job, Jeannie. Thank you. The memories also work on the amygdala. You just reminded me. The amygdala is in the center of the brain, deep in the center of the brain, and it is a storehouse for traumatic events and memories. And so that memories formula clears that, neutralizes all of that. So again, people can feel better and don't have that trigger of acid into their body on a regular basis, and they can get well. There's another Dr. Cranwell. I have just received his book, but in his report, I was reading about broken heart syndrome. You can't imagine how many people have heart problems because of the broken heart syndrome. They've just named it that. And I said, I think my mother died of a broken heart.
Well, and we see that in my work, in my past, in hospice, traveling around, again, in Boston and Rhode Island when I was meeting with family members. When you have someone, especially what I saw, who has dementia, who's been in a nursing home for years and years and years, and the spouse comes every day to have breakfast and every day to have dinner and eat meals and gets to know the family in the facility as well. For all the negative press nursing homes get, there are such wonderful people there and that really care about their patients and their families. And the family members of the patients become family members of these folks in the facilities. So when their loved one dies, not only do they lose the love of their life, they lose their daily routine, and they lose their extended family that they've known for almost 10, 15 years sometimes. And my mother's best friend ran the unit at the hospital next to this one nursing home, and she said, a lot of my patients are patients who come here. They're brokenhearted. They can't fix their life because they've lost their loved one, and within 6 months they go as well.
That's true. What happens is, Dr. Cranwell says, is the left ventricle of the heart enlarges, so the heart doesn't pump efficiently, and the top of the heart, where the blood goes out, gets very narrow. So again, the oxygen and the blood flow isn't there, and people have heart problems because of broken heart syndrome, and they can die of that. And memories does take care of that one also. So there are so many things that people have, as you mentioned, diseases and so on. You did mention dementia, and I need to tell you that we have an Alzheimer's study going now. We are in a Banner Alzheimer's residence care facility. We are going to be talking to the families of the patients there and their doctors. And, of course, it's a 24-bed facility, and so there are 24 doctors, one for each of the people. So we're inviting the patients' families who would be interested in finding out about the water formulas and their doctor to come. And this is going to be probably toward the end of this month. And what I want to do is share with them the story of Greg Costin. He is in Canada. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's a year ago, 2 years ago, 2011, and by the Canadian Alzheimer's Society. And his wife had been on the program, 6-week program, and so she called right down immediately when they got the diagnosis, and he got him started on that. He, in 4 weeks, was already showing signs of reversing. He has been now 2.5 years of not taking any medications. His wife pulled him off the medications right away, and he just did the water formulas because she was used to them and knew that they would work. He is now has his own shop. He's 65. Has his own shop in his garage. He climbs ladders. He fixes boats, canoes, refurbishes them. He used power drills and power saws. He drives. She said, I have my husband back. She said, he's better than I ever remember him. And so we have a facility down here in Sun City that is interested in learning more about that. And we're going to take 3 of these families, and we're going to work with them and their doctors to show them that we can do this with just water-based formulas.
Interesting.
Is that not exciting?
And it's very exciting, and I am interested to follow this study and to see how this goes, because, everybody, and dementia is so prevalent, and the statistics for the future are terrible. and it's just becoming more and more and more prevalent as our country ages, or as civilization ages. But so how long will this study go for?
I don't know yet. Well, at least the 6 weeks of the program. And then there's a 2.5 months of maintenance in the kit also.
So you will know your effect on these 3 patients within about 4 months.
Oh, easily.
Okay.
Easily. And I have to tell you that they say no known cause, no known cure for many diseases, but I'm thinking Alzheimer's right now. We have found 2 things that all these Alzheimer's people have. One is they have brain cells, or all the cells in their body are so hardened or scarred that water can't get in. Now think about a car battery that doesn't have any water in it. Your car won't even turn over. Mm-hmm. Turn the key, not even a sound, because the battery needs water in order to make the energy to run the car. Same thing with cells in the body, and very specifically the cells of the brain. When the brain cells, the membranes are hardened by radiation, electric, toxins, including chemicals and drugs and medications, the cells become so hardened that they can't accept water anymore. And the brain cells are like little tiny batteries. Every cell in your body is, but I'm thinking brain cells, tiny batteries. And when no water can get in them anymore, the batteries shut down and the life goes out of the body. And we have found one other thing that is that all of these patients have.
But wait a minute. So does your system reverse the hardening of those cells so it can get to it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
For saying that.
Okay.
Yes, it does. It cleanses the cells so there is no scarring, no calcification on the outside, nothing that would keep the water from getting into the brain. Thank you for that. Secondly is CRE, which is an infection, a staph infection found in nursing homes, in hospitals, in doctors' offices. How about health food stores? Any place where sick people go. And it's a contact staph infection worse than MRSA and C. diff. And there is no antibiotic for that, says the Center for Disease Control. You can look that up, CDC, about CRE. I can tell you what that means. It's carbapenem-resistant enterobacterium. I learned to say that. CRE. Check out Center for Disease Control. They say it will be 10 years before they get an antibiotic for that. And we were able to put that in one of the formulas, Step 4, in this program. So by Step 4, the 4 cleansing formulas, when people finish Step 4, already there can be a turnaround because the CRE infection is cleared. And so that's what's exciting. Those 2 things are major root causes, we find, of Alzheimer's.
Okay. Well, this is very interesting and exciting. Now, I know a little bit more progressive than some of our listeners, but also...
Sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry. If it wasn't for progressive people, we would never progress, right?
I think you're absolutely right.
But what I'm thinking is, as people are listening to you, there are folks that are going to want to know more. And I know that you're talking about a facility in Arizona where you're doing a study on 3 patients. Do you have plans to do more studies in the future in different facilities throughout the country? What is your plan?
Actually, we have a gal who's trained under us that wants to, or is looking right now for a care home in Georgia to do the same program.
Okay.
We have a project called the Cocoon Project, and it takes elders and puts them through the program, 6-week program, and their 2.5 months of maintenance, and then they will be in a home together, maybe 5 or 7 or 8 people. We don't know. We're just putting that together now. And they will be a family. And once they are well, they will be able to go in the kitchen and make cookies. They can help with setting the tables. They can garden outside and bring the produce in to eat. They can have parties. Because they will be well. They can go back to their own homes again.
So
their family can have them back again.
I imagine a lot of family members who are struggling with a loved one with dementia right now, and I don't want to create havoc here. But so really, though, if there is an owner of a personal care home or a facility that might be interested in using you to have this study at their home, or if there is a loved one or a family member of a loved one that's at a facility and they talk to an owner, to have the owner get in touch with you. But
yes.
But really you're looking specifically, because you're in the early stages, not for one by one. Of course, they could call you and go on your program, but specifically as it's relating to our conversation right now, you're actually looking for a facility, personal care home type facility in Georgia. So it's those people that should be in touch with you if this is something that would interest them.
That would be really exciting.
Okay. And
so
why don't you give your contact info again, Carol?
They can call me at Carol KEppler at 602-996-9753.
And I feel like I'm always cutting you off. That's Carol KEppler, 602-996-9753. But we only have a few minutes, and important information needs to be given. So we haven't talked about cost. So I think what folks understand is you have a water-based system that works on the energy and the vibration and the frequency in your body to help your body heal its cells in a way that can rejuvenate and refresh your system so that you can live as healthy as possible for the rest of your life. But we also talked about how there is a cleanse part for 6 weeks and then a 2.5 months maintenance part. So as I look at that, that's 4 months total. And hopefully by then you're going to see what Carol is talking to you about, feeling better and rejuvenating the cells in your body. I have a couple minutes, Carol, so I need this to be as succinct as possible. Can you explain the cost of this?
The cost is $409.
Total?
We have kept a total for 4 cleansing formulas, the 2 power formulas, and 2.5 months of maintenance. And the reason is this isn't about money. This is about a vision for healing the planet. And we would, and so we have purposely kept the cost down so more people could use it. And I know people are spending thousands and thousands of dollars putting their homes up for second work. What do they do to their homes? They give them away, and you don't have to do that. And it's a once in a lifetime. You never ever have to do it again. You just have to stay on your maintenance, which is $30 a month.
Okay, so that was my next question. So it's a $409 commitment for 4 months, and then $30 a month for your lifelong commitment.
Exactly.
Okay, and when we say healing, we're going through a study, and Carol is very passionate. And I'm going to try this cleanse, and we'll be back when I'm done, and we'll talk a little bit more about my experience. I'm Jean Pete. You're listening to Better Living. Carol, thank you so much for joining us to help people educate and inform themselves about how they can live better. And again, her website is www.altwaterstech.com. I'm Jeannie Pete. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day and week ahead. And listen here, same time next week and every week. Homestead Hope Foundation is your resource for a healthy life. God bless.